Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I'm here to remove negativity from your life. So as you guys might know, there's a lot of negativity and people are generally very easily offended nowadays. You cannot label a gender on them. They are gender fluid, there are people that are pro-life, there are people that are pro-abortion.
I have an abortion, what does that do to your life?
I'm pro first trimester abortions. If I believe that a life begins after the first trimester, well that's where I draw the line of saying the fetus now becomes a baby with human rights, then I would have an issue with that.
But human rights would overpower her human rights?
I would say there are two sets of human rights that we have to try and balance.
I know where I draw the line, but that doesn't matter.
Where would you draw the line?
I would decide fairly early on, and I know for certain that I won't be able to support a child. Universal health rights. That costs so much money to raise a child.
Sorry, it's so hard to hear you.
No, I know. So it. No! He's listening. He's giving me the.
We're actually giving you guys a platform to explain your decision. I feel like you're really respectful of me, and I hope you feel like I'm respectful of you.
100%. And you're being open, and it's a conversation, and that's important.
If you just scroll through social media and TikTok, you will see people fighting against each other, be it black versus white, male versus female, rich versus poor, vegan versus meat lover, pro-life versus pro-abortion. And I usually encourage people to not care about all these narratives because it doesn't really bother with your individual personal life. But today, let me explain to you from my point of view why all this shouldn't matter and you shouldn't waste your time advocating on all this nonsensical stuff. I think as society progresses and become more prosperous, the more abundance we have, the more headspace we have to think about all these funny problems. Generally, the generation with abundance will become weaker because they don't have to work to survive. And this generation of people work on finding their own purpose and they have a lot of headspace to think of all these funny problems. And I think because of the rise of social media and unethical algorithms have helped to push out all this hate, and hate has spread like wildfire. Okay, now let me tell you from my point of view why all of this does not matter. My research is based on reading a lot of papers, reading a lot of books, reading a lot of things that is related to these topics. And after connecting the dots, I realized that all these topics are just stupid and people are just fighting for no reason. And let me explain to you why. And I think it is important to put the right narrative inside your head because only then you won't waste a good chunk of your time or your whole life fighting for the wrong narrative. Now first, let's have a debate. Do you guys think that the rich are greedy? You can pause this video if you want to and you sit down and think about this. Are the rich greedy? Because I have seen a lot of people running this narrative that the rich are greedy and I'm not greedy and therefore I should not do anything about this and change my financial situation. And there are keyboard warriors sitting down in front of their computer screen complaining about rich people being greedy. So I would like to know your point of view in the comment section down below. Do you think the rich people are greedy? So from my perspective, and I try to give you as balanced and unbiased view as possible. Are rich people greedy? The answer is yes and no. And let's start with why I think the rich people are not greedy. To know if the rich people are greedy, you have to understand where the wealth comes from. If the wealth comes from him creating products or services that benefits the humanity as a whole, that individual is contributing more to the society than most of the people combined. The individual have to be competitive, have to be innovative, have to be daring, bold and take risks, have to be charismatic to assemble people, find the right people, to build the best product or services he himself can offer. He have to work 80 to 100 hours and bear all the risks, assemble capital people, and to sell story to his employees to build the best product or services that benefits humanity. So the answer is no, the rich people are not greedy. Whereas in contrast, I feel that poor people are sometimes greedier. They don't want to work, they want to consume Netflix, they don't want to put in the effort to work. They want high pay, they want more rest time, they want more freedom. They want consumption-based lifestyle, they want the fast cars. When they have free time, they're not learning, they're complaining on TikToks, they're complaining on social media about how the rich are greedy. In fact, if you look at things this way, you will understand that this rich versus poor narrative that the rich people are greedy is simply not true. Okay, to give you guys a balanced view, there are times where I feel rich people are greedy. And this category of rich people, they grow their wealth through snatching the pie of other people rather than growing the pie. And let me give you an example of this category of people. So to me, this category of people are corrupted politicians or inefficient family conglomerates that depends on government subsidies for their businesses to survive. So one good example is Korea. Korea have what we call kaibos. Kaibos are your companies like Lotte, Samsung, or in Japan, Mitsubishi. These conglomerates are run by rich and powerful families. And because the businesses are so big, they cannot run it efficiently, they cannot produce the best product or services, and they tend to have a lot of power to decide who runs the government, and they get the government to subsidize them. So in this kind of society where the rich amass their wealth through snatching the pie, there is no social mobility, and I feel this is greedy. So how do I know about kaibos and no social mobility in a country like Korea? Because I actually spent time reading about the culture and the history of Korea and Japan. So these are detailed research that help me connect the dots, and I find that this whole narrative is just don't bother. The whole point of debating and fighting against each other is to solve the problem. But if you do not even know the root cause of the problem, then there is no point in debating and arguing over all these narratives. It is important to identify the root cause of the problem, or in Chinese I call it 观察事情的本质. Identify the root cause of the problem. So I give you another example, feminism. One of the main agenda that feminism advocates for is for equal pay between both gender, male and female. Now, you might think that this perfectly makes sense. Why shouldn't a female be paid equally to a male? But if you really dive deeper and understand that there is a huge wealth disparity between males, the top 1 to 2% of males earns majority of the wealth, and most males will try to climb up the social hierarchy in sake of status. And the bottom 50% of male, they are your average Joe, they are earning way below average. And what feminism is doing is simplifying this male social hierarchy, and this 1 to 2% of male, they are pulling up the average of how much a male actually earns. And what feminism is doing by advocating for equality of pay is that they are oversimplifying the wealth distribution among men. People that lay bricks are men, electrician workers are men, construction workers are men. These are jobs that are tiring and requires a lot of physical labor, but you don't see females wanting to take up 50% of these jobs. And if you really think about why there is this huge wealth disparity between men, we can understand this through human history. In our human history, let's say for example, you were to trace your human ancestry, you will notice that on average, you have twice as many female ancestors than you have male ancestors. Now, one good theory or hypothesis that tells us why this is the case is because female Homo sapiens are choosy breeders. They want to breed with the strongest men who have the capability to take care of the whole family. And if you really sit down and connect the dots, you will realize and understand why male have this innate need to compete and seek for status and aggressiveness. Because this will distinguish them from the rest of the males, and this will push them up the male hierarchy. And some males are just born with this competitive gene, and they just focus on doing one thing and one thing only. It's in their DNA. You look at people like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, or even in history, Achilles, Napoleon, Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan. These are the people that will sacrifice their time, their life to do things that are exceptional and humanly impossible. And in that way, they help to push out the average, whereas female did not develop this competitiveness in their genes because males are not choosy breeders. And to me, the root cause of all these problems is not gender wage gap or whatsoever. The problem is actually capitalism. Now, capitalism has amazing features. It is good at pulling people out of poverty. Capitalism is also good at rewarding the rich to become richer because they work smarter and harder. People that suffer under capitalism is actually the medium income households. Your average middle income, your average middle lower, your average middle upper. And the problem is actually affordability. Now, our salary nowadays might be 60,000, 100,000, 200,000 a year. Now, our salary might look high in numbers nowadays, but do you notice that 1 to 2 generations ago, one person's income can pay for the entire household, plus paying for the house and paying for the car. All the household expenses is being paid by one person. Nowadays, with both the husband and wife working, people still have trouble paying the house. And I guess that is the issue. Why do you want to waste 50 hours of your life to fulfill someone else's dream? So I think that's the question you should ask. The root problem is affordability and capitalism, making everything expensive and unaffordable that two couples have to work. And I empathize in the female's position that it is not easy to have a job, have kids, take care of the house, and it is too much. And just to clarify to the feminists that why men in the past is the one that works and the females are the one that stay inside the household. It is because females are the ones that gives birth, they have nurturing instinct, and females are the ones that are choosy breeders. They tend to choose men that are capable, stronger, and have better status. So they will marry upwards. They are unlikely to marry down. If the trend is that women will marry men with less status, then we might actually see more women being the breadwinner of the house. But this is not the case. We just have our natural gender role to play, and we just play our gender roles accordingly, and there is no need for equality because we are doing different things. And equality in what sense? Okay, so that is it for today. The main goal of this video today is to make sure that you adopt the right thinking framework and run the right narratives so that you don't waste time arguing over those stupid things that we are seeing on the internet nowadays. And I just want to make an educated video backed with research, facts, and first principles thinking to address and eradicate all this woke mind virus. So if you guys like this type of video, do give it a thumbs up. If you don't, just comment down below and I will stop doing all this type of video. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.